All right, today we are doing fillomino. So as the name implies, you are filling the grid with polyominoes. Polyominoes just means basically areas that are connected orthogonally, something like that. So a basic one would be a domino, like this. This would be a domino. You can have triominoes that are three. You can do, the normal Tetris shapes that are four. Um, and you can have lots of different shapes, but the point is that they're all orthogonally connected. So you can't have, something like this. This wouldn't count as a domino. Um, they have to be connected across a dashed line. So um, you'll have numbers in the grid, like if you had a 2, for example. This has to be part of a region or a polyomino that is size 2. So it could be there, or it could be down here, or any of those four directions, and that makes a domino. Um, if you have a 3, then you can do something like this, or you could have like this. There's lots of different ways you could do it. This can be the edge of it. It could go 3 this way. It could also be the middle. So it could go both directions. It could bend. It can do lots of things. So if you had something bigger, like say a 15 or something, this could be the start of a 15 cell chain like that, or it could be part of a big block of 15 that's 16, but they're 15. Um, you don't really know. It could be some weird thing where there's a block and then there's like this line that comes off. Um, but it has to be part of some sort of a region of connected cells that's 15 cells large, if there's a 15. So, how do you go about solving one of these? Well, there's a few things you can look for. So, one thing is cells that are the same number but can't be connected. For example, if you had 2's like this, or a 2 here. So this 2 and this 2 can't connect because that would make it size 3. And you can't have two polyominoes or two regions of the same size sharing an edge. So you couldn't do a 2 down here like this and then another 2 here because they'd be touching each other. They can touch diagonally, but they can't share an edge. So essentially what you can do here is you can say, well, this 2 here can't go that way, and this 2 can't go that way. And these 2's can't go this way. So this one actually has to stick down because it can't go to the right or it'll touch this 2, and it can't go to the left or up because it'll touch this 2. So that one has to go down, and then you can draw that one in. So that's with 2's. You can, do similar types of things. If you had a 3 and, another 3 right here, well, this one could go 1 to the right, or this one could go 1 to the left, but that's the most they could do. So, let's imagine you had other numbers here and here, like 1's or something, right? This one could go 1 here. It can't go any farther, so it would either have to turn and go up, or it's going to have to stick out the other direction. So it's in some ways, some of the logic is similar to cave, where in cave puzzles, when we had like a 12 here, we could say, oh, well, it can only do 10 this direction, so it's going to have at least 2 more this way, and you can do some of that. You can kind of do the same kind of things with this, where you can say, well, this 5 can only go at most 2 to the left, so it's going to have to do more this direction, and kind of fill in some of the cells that it has to have. And then the other thing to look for is look for areas where the numbers can't connect, like I said, but also where they can and sometimes have to connect. if you had a, let's see, this is a 10 by 10 grid. So altogether, you're going to have 100 cells here. So if you had, you know, a 60 there and a 60 down here, clearly you can't have two different sets of 60 in the grid because that would be 120. So these 60s are going to have to connect somehow. However they want to connect. They're going to have to connect somehow. So if you had two 60s and a bunch of other numbers, you would know the 60s had to connect. And that one's kind of more obvious. But if you have, a couple 12s and a couple of 20s and then some other big ones, sometimes you can say, if these two 20s are separate regions, we're going to have too many cells in the grid. So sometimes you can figure that out. And sometimes you can't figure that out until you've filled in half the grid and you can say, oh, well, we have 15 cells left to fill and I have, two 8s. The 8s are going to have to connect, obviously, and be one region of 8. Otherwise, there'd be too many cells. So that's a thing that comes up sometimes in fillomino puzzles as well. And one other thing to know is that you can have a region that doesn't have a number given in the grid. So if you filled in your 12s down here and came up with something like this, that's too many, but you get the idea. You could put a 1 here. You could put a single region right there. Or if your 12s were here, you could actually put another region here the size 2. You can put in regions that don't have numbers already given in the grid. That's allowed and sometimes required. All right, there's my tips for fillominos. These are kind of fun. They're kind of interesting little puzzles. You're just, fill in the grid. A lot like Cave, but a lot different at the same time. So hope you enjoy, and I'll see you tomorrow.